I was bored, so I went through and found every adult joke that I guarantee you missed as a kid while watching Gumball, starting in the hug. The premise of this episode is pretty simple. Gumball keeps running into Hot Dog Guy, and every encounter somehow ends in another awkward hug. They bump into each other at random, share embarrassing moments, try awkward small talk, and even fake phone calls. Gumball invites Hot Dog Guy to camp out in a tent in the backyard for a sleepover. At first, everything seems innocent, but things quickly get awkward. Hot Dog Guy shifts in his sleep, accidentally putting his hand on Gumball, and when Gumball tries to move, he ends up on top of him. They wake up in the same awkward position, unsure of what to do, and the hug continues how it has in every other previous encounter. As a kid, you probably laughed and thought it was just cartoon silliness. Well, now, as an adult though, you can't help but notice the framing and the tension. The scene clearly hints at something far more suggestive than it seems. It's one of those jokes the show slipped past younger audiences, but now, looking back, it's very different, in a very adult way. But if you thought that was crazy, we're just getting started, as the jokes only get more insane throughout the video, which leads us to our next one in the roots. In this episode, Nicole decides that the best way to understand Darwin is by checking his browser history. The second the rest of the family realizes what's happening, the house completely loses its mind. Phones get smashed, laptops get destroyed, and suddenly everyone's acting like their devices are dangerous. At first, it just looks like your regular cartoon chaos. I mean, breaking your own stuff over one click sounds insane, but if you think about it for a second, it starts to make way more sense than it should. The show never explains why it's such a big deal, and that's exactly why it works. Everyone just panics, and somehow that tells you everything. Because, let's be real, no one reacts like that unless there's something on that screen you really don't want anyone seeing. And then there's Anais. Of all people, she freaks out too, which honestly makes that joke even better. Because if she's scared of someone checking her browser history, yeah, that raises way more questions than answers. Next up, we have the episode The Decision. In this episode, Darwin has a hard time choosing anything on his own, so he decides to let Alan guide him. Because according to him, Alan always makes the right choices. For most of the episode, this feels wholesome and sweet. Then there's a moment in the cafeteria where Alan is talking to a group of kids about why eating vegetables is important. At first, everything looks normal. Like Alan is calm, the kids are listening, and everything feels very innocent. But then something feels off. While he's talking, Alan starts eating, and the food does not go in his mouth or face. It goes straight into the hole in his body. Or we can simply say his butt. And he does not react at all. As a kid, you probably just saw it as a random balloon joke. He is a balloon, so cartoons doing weird things make sense. Watching it now though, that visual hits differently. And you know why and how. But before these jokes get even more insane, you better subscribe. Because some of these things are so bad that YouTube might demonetize this video. Just kidding, not really, but you might as well subscribe because now things are really gonna start getting good. But before we continue with the rest of the adult jokes, I'm gonna tell you about this really cool app I found where you can literally message Gumball and the rest of the Watterson family, thanks to today's sponsor, Polybuzz. Polybuzz lets you chat with AI versions of characters from all your favorite shows. Personally, I decided to talk to an AI version of Richard, and let's just say he responded exactly how you would expect him to. Richard, what have you eaten today?
Well, let's see. I had 12 pancakes, 8 bowls of cereal, 3 pizzas, 5 burgers, a family-sized lasagna, a loaf of garlic bread, 14 donuts, half a birthday cake I found in the fridge, and 47 sandwiches. But it's okay because I drank a diet soda.
Yeah, that checks out. You can have full conversations with these characters, joke with them, roast them, and ask them stupid questions. The possibilities are literally endless. And on top of all that, you can even create your own character universe inside the app. So you already know I'm added in my boy Banana Bob, and the intellectual conversations that we're about to be having is on a different level. You can't even comprehend it. If you guys want to try it for yourself, just click the link in the description or the pinned comment. It's free to download, and if you use my promo code Gumball77, it unlocks premium features in the app with a free trial. It's literally free. There is no reason not to try this. Huge thanks to Polybuzz for sponsoring today's video. Now, let's get back to it. And next, in the slap, Gumball and Darwin are trying to come up with a cool new greeting. And that's when Tobias shows up with his own version, a butt slap. Everyone gets one except for Gumball, and for some reason, that really bothers him. At first, kids will just see this as Gumball being jealous and overdramatic. He wants to be included, and that feels like a normal kid problem. But then, Gumball takes it way too far. He spends the entire episode trying to get Tobias to slap his butt. He begs for it, sets himself up for it, and even puts himself into awkward positions just to make it happen. The show plays it off as desperate comedy, but the joke underneath is hard to miss. For kids, it's just silly physical humor, but as an adult, the situation sounds a lot more uncomfortable. And I'm still wondering how this storyline ever got approved. I mean, a character repeatedly asking another character to slap his butt crosses into very different territory once you actually think about it. Next up, we have the episode The Poltergeist. In this episode, Nicole and Richard are busy arguing again, and this somehow gets Mr. Robinson feeling nostalgic about his own marriage. Watching them go at it, he casually mentions how Margaret used to argue with him all the time. Now, if you saw this as a kid, that word probably just sounded like loud voices and drama. Nothing strange there. But listening to it now, the way he talks about it feels very specific.
Margaret and I used to argue like that, sometimes up to 6 times a day. From first thing in the morning until last thing at night.
Saying they argued 6 times a day already sounds a bit much. I mean, nobody talks about fights like they're fond memories. Then he starts naming the places that these arguments happened, like the bedroom, the car, and even the movie theater. Back then, those details probably flew right past most of us. And once Gumball and Darwin step in, that spark suddenly comes back. By the end, Margaret just scoops Mr. Robinson up and carries him off like everything's magically fixed. Yeah, this is definitely one of those jokes that only works if you're old enough to know better. But let's move on to the next episode, The Fan. Sarah's crush on Gumball goes way past awkward into straight up creepy territory. Back then, this episode just feels weird and uncomfortable, but you still might not fully understand why. Sarah secretly records Gumball and Darwin and turns it into a love video. Sounds romantic, right? Well, the clips Sarah recorded were actually Gumball changing clothes, Darwin getting out of the shower, yes, you heard it right, and Sarah watching them from places no one should be watching from. It is all set to a happy song about how she wants to marry one of them, which somehow makes it even worse. As kids, you might have seen this exaggerated cartoon behavior and move on, but as an adult, you instantly recognize how disturbing this actually is. In the next episode, The Storm, Alan is feeling low, and Gumball tries to cheer him up by pushing him to move on and start dating again. The problem is that Alan is a balloon, and when he's deflated, his confidence is gone too. But it's not really a problem until you see what happens next. The joke shows up when Gumball and Alan head into the bathroom stall so Alan can get back to his normal shape. On the surface, it looks harmless, right? Like he's a balloon that needs air. So what's the big deal? Kids will see nothing more than a visual gag as the balloon goes flat, and the balloon gets air. End of story. But it gets weird when you saw how Gumball actually tries to help Alan get back to normal shape. He blows air into his hole, or should I say his butt, using his mouth, while they're hidden in a bathroom stall. And when they leave the stall, Alan is floating again and feeling great, while Gumball looks deeply uncomfortable and avoids eye contact, which makes it even worse. Next up is the banana. In this episode, Mr. Small is doing his usual rounds as the school counselor, giving advice in his calm and peaceful way. To kids, he just seems like a harmless, chill cloud who's really into positive vibes. Then comes the moment when Mr. Small talks about his life being full of highs and casually offers Gumball and Darwin a herbal infusion to help them feel better. I know as a kid, this might sound like Mr. Small is talking about tea or some kind of plant drink, so nothing feels off. Adults, however, hear those words very differently, because the way Mr. Small acts, talks, and even floats around makes the reference pretty obvious. It doesn't help that when things get weird and trippy, he feels completely at home. In the next episode, The Cringe, Gumball and Hot Dog Guy spend a day in a constant loop of awkward moments. They keep running into each other at the same restroom, try strange talent show auditions, and Gumball even pretends to be Hot Dog Guy's father. But nothing seems to ease the tension. At one point, they try to go to the shower room together, and Gumball actually asks Hot Dog Guy to take off his pants. Of course, Hot Dog Guy refuses, and to make it even crazier, Banana Joe is in the stall too. Gumball keeps pushing for him to fully commit to the cringe, and it quickly turns into a totally ridiculous shouting match. As kids, you might have just seen this as cartoon silliness and awkward faces, but adults notice the suggestive undertones. The way Gumball keeps insisting, and Banana Joe being there makes it clear that the scene is hinting at something a lot more grown up than it looks to kids. Next, we have the episode The Wicked, and honestly, the baby swap scene in this episode is where things get really interesting. At the hospital, the Pepperonis are celebrating a new baby, but Margaret accidentally swaps their baby with the Cube family's baby. When both dads finally look down at what they're holding, everything instantly falls apart. Mr. Pepperoni and Mr. Pentagon go from confused to furious in seconds. As a kid, it looks like two dads completely losing it over a hospital mix-up, but watching it now, the reaction feels way too extreme for a simple mix-up. I mean, they don't act confused, they act betrayed. And when they turn on each other, it makes it feel like they're not questioning the hospital, they're questioning their partners. But yeah, those were all the adult jokes that I could find in Gumball. And while you're still here, check out Polybuzz in the pinned comment, and make sure to use my code to sign up. It helps out the channel more than you could imagine. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, make sure to subscribe and check out the video on screen. I'm sure you'll love it.